Please take a cup of coffee or tea, because we need to talk. Now normally I'm not the one to go all negative about something, as I understand that things need time and small things are often part of a bigger plan that can take years or decades to complete. This time it's different. Completely different, as I need to talk to you about the absolute disaster that's called LRT Jabodebek. Now, to make it clear from the start, Jakarta has two separate LRT systems operated by different entities. The first one is called LRT Jakarta, which operates a 5.8 km long LRT line with 6 stations. These trains run fine, although their reach is very limited and the line isn't connected to any other rail-based transport just yet. I'm not talking about that in this video. I'm talking about LRT Jabodebek, which operates the two lines that start from Dukuh Atas and run to Bekasi City in the east and Cibubur in the south. Their total trackage is some 44 kilometers with 18 stations. Now you know what I'm talking about. Let's go! Groundbreaking of the project was done by President Joko Widodo, or Jokowi, in September 2015. Back then the target was to have both lines operational in 2019. But since you know the official opening was late August 2023, you know things went wrong. It started with land clearing for the depot in eastern Bekasi. That took years longer than expected. Of course, COVID-19 is used as an excuse for some delays, and the year 2022 became the year that it would be finished. That didn't happen because of frequent problems with the signaling on sections that were already completed. This eventually led to a collision between two LRT trains on the section between Cawang and Cibubur. Eventually everything was tested for about 3 years and all problems were solved so the grand opening could be done. Was everything solved though? No, not by a long shot. And in the first days of commercial operation, this showed immediately. So let's jump to the commercial opening. It was August 28 of this year when the first trains stopped at stations to pick up paying customers. As there was quite the hype around the opening and fares were kept at a reasonable 5,000 rupiah, thousands decided to use the lightrail network for a day out or to get to work. Everything seemed to go pretty well, but it wasn't long before videos and photos started to appear online. From the very start there were a number of complaints. The fully automated and thus driverless trains run very slow and seemed to have problems finding out where the stations exactly were so they could stop at the right place. Amusing videos showed up about trains stopping somewhere at the station where their doors didn't match the platform screen doors, for example. It didn't take long for drivers to take over the controls of the trains to make sure they actually stopped where they should stop so passengers could get in and out of the trains. Pretty basic stuff that a train should be able to do, right? This is all very funny until you find out that these problems weren't solved almost right away, but became a recurring problem that took days to weeks to solve, if they were solved at all. Those misaligned stops have been solved, but other problems remained and new ones popped up randomly. On a number of occasions, trains seemed to have broken down, stopping somewhere in between stations and not moving again until light rail staff was able to override the automation. It even got so bad that a few trains had to be towed away by a working train set, causing hours of delays on the entire network. To this day there are problems with trains that have electrical, signaling and even air conditioning problems. These problems sound very basic to me. I mean, air conditioning not working properly is clearly at the hand of the builder of the train sets, the Indonesian state-owned company for railroad works, Inka. It was in this early commercial phase, not during testing in the previous 3 years before that a major design flaw was detected at the so-called long span bridge over Gatot Subroto Road and the Cawang to Grogol toll road. Trains weren't able to properly make these large radius curves without alarms going off. The blame was put at the software from Siemens. They had rolled out updates during the public trial period as well, but this wasn't addressed yet, apparently. Because no one noticed it all the time they had trials without passengers? If you test something, you normally have a set of parameters that need to be tested. Trains being able to make a curve without triggering alarms is one of them, right? Very strange if you ask me, but I'm no train expert. Soon it became clear that the problem was not the software by Siemens, but... Drumroll please, and put down your drink because I don't want you to spill it all over your screen. The problem was that the dimensions of every single train set were slightly off the design specifications. Every single one of them. So you can say every train set is unique. But do we really want that? Obviously, no. Unfortunately, misplaced nationalism, among many other factors including possible corruption, allegedly, led to the fact that the train sets for light rail systems in Indonesia are locally produced. Because we can. But no, you really can't. And I'm not the only one complaining about the quality of the train sets. Indonesians are as well. Whether it's the fact that the doors are only 180 centimeters high, or other rail-based transport has doors that are at least 190 centimeters, or the fact that the train sets just don't look properly finished, with uneven door handles, not properly tightened screws and bolts, and seats that are made from fabric and thus stain permanently after a few days of operations. But the trains are still running, so let's see how we can destroy ridership entirely. Before the commercial opening, it was announced that fares for the LRT Jabodebek system would start at 5,000 rupiah for the first kilometer and then 700 rupiah for each following kilometer. This would make it even more expensive than Jakarta's MRT line, which is partially built on the ground. During the commercial opening, a special promo fare was introduced. This was a flat fare of 5,000 rupiah for any distance on the line, instantly making it competitive compared to commuter trains, of which fares start at 3,000 rupiah for the first 25 kilometers and then 1,000 rupiah for every 10 kilometers. Yes, that cheap. Because of this nice flat fare, tens of thousands of people flocked to the stations to give it a go, even with the problems measured out online and on TV. Many people just wanted to have a selfie of them on the new light rail system, and some of them even put in some effort to actually travel to the nearest LRT Jabodebek station by other public transport just to make a short return trip on a weekend day or so. From those passenger numbers, you would say it's a success. But it's not, and it was not very well hidden. As I just said before, many people just wanted to ride it for the fun of it. They will probably never do it again, as they are not even living along the route, so it's not useful for them at all. There is a smaller group that seems to stay though. And that's the people that either live close enough or work close enough to one of the stations to make this new commute into a sensible alternative, financially spoken. Commuter trains do run frequently and are cheap, but for quite some people these new light rail lines are just more convenient. With the price increase on October 1st, 2023, this became very obvious in just a few days. Starting that date, fares were distance-based, with the nearest being 3,000 rupiah, and the max fare for the longer distances was set at 20,000. This is a 400% increase overnight. Of course, it was announced earlier that fares would be higher, but that's not what passengers see. They see huge fares deducted upon checkout, and there were some scared faces as not all passengers noticed the steep increase. Starting October 22nd, 2023, fares were adjusted again, with a max fare for the longer distances seeing a price cut of 50%, becoming 10,000 rupiah. But, there's always a but, this cap only applies for rides during weekends and national holidays. A huge kick in the nuts for daily commuters that started to use this system in their daily life. With this discounted fare during weekends and national holidays, the operator is trying to lure in incidental passengers instead of focusing on passengers that have a daily commute. With a max fare at 20,000 rupiah for a single trip, traveling to a train station like before has become a viable option again, especially with a myriad of randomly popping up problems, sometimes still causing delays of several hours. So, where are we today in the last few days of October 2023? Well, trains are running, but that's about it for positive points to give to LRT Jabodebek. People are complaining around the clock about multiple issues that are persisting on the network, with no real end in sight. Let's run through them really quick, so we can then forget about it, as that's what upper management seems to do as well. Pretend it's not there and everything will be fine, right? Well, not really. Outside of the issues already discussed earlier, the main complaint currently is that trains do not seem to run on a proper schedule. Passengers were promised 15-minute headway on the sections between Cawang and Cibubur, as well as Cawang to Jatimulya in Bekasi, but it's not uncommon for trains to show up only once an hour. But a headway of 30 minutes seems the norm though. The second issue is that the LRT Jabodebek lines can't be used in the evening hours, as the last train on the route consistently departs just after 7 in the evening, leaving people that want to hang around or are still at work no choice to get home again by LRT. Commuter trains and the MRT line run from before dawn until after midnight, as does the busway system that even offers the occasional night bus as well. The third problem is that trains run very slow. Where a travel time of 40 to 45 minutes was advertised for both lines start to finish, it's not uncommon to see this creeping towards an hour or even slightly longer. With trains running slow on large sections of the track, even stopping before stations for some time before eventually pulling in. Communication, or rather the lack of it, is another major issue. Where the mother company Kereta Api Indonesia, KAI in short, has mastered communication over the years in case of incidents, accidents and just general information on last trains, last connections and so, LRT Jabodebek is silent when trains have stopped running. Outside the top problems that are mainly general ones that need to be solved as soon as possible to avoid even more people walking away from LRT Jabodebek, there is a new problem that arose just a few days ago. And that didn't improve the already long waiting and travel times alike. A total of 15 out of 31 train sets available have been brought to maintenance suddenly and were pulled from active service as they need immediate maintenance to their wheels. Not too much additional information is known, as we expect from LRT Jabodebek by now, but it's rumored that these pulled train sets weren't up to safety standards, so it was probably a good idea to pull them directly. But with half your trains in maintenance and that maintenance taking at least several weeks, there are new problems. In a short and rare statement, the operator announced a number of trips would be cancelled for a number of days. No indication though on how many days that would be, just the cancelled departure times. So apparently, they are really tight on trains if they can't fill those departures with currently operating and spare trains. Because of this, there currently is no hope that operational hours will be extended anytime soon. I rode LRT Jabodebek just over a week ago on a Sunday and had to wait a long time, with the train taking over an hour to reach its destination. That's a 50% longer journey time on top of a pretty long wait for a train to arrive in the first place. I also rode it the next day, when trains seem to be much more frequent and slightly faster, with a travel time of 52 minutes each way. Inconsistency and uncertainty all around. I would not use LRT Jabodebek for my daily commute, not in the state it's in currently.